Hi, I'm Steve Main with Fitness for Five, back here again with Dr. Nario at Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. You can look them up online and see what kind of treatments they do. So welcome, Dr. Nario.
Thanks, Steve, for invite.
Okay, so we're talking about something that's pretty new, and it's EG. So what
Yeah.
is that? What's that
All
stand
right.
for? What is it?
I like how you shorted it out. But EG, as you mentioned, it's what we call endothelial glycocalyx. So how do we understand this better? So I want you to imagine your tablecloth, right? That's why you use your tablecloth to prevent spills, damages, and burns from hot pans and plates on your table. So you have that cover. So what happens here is, so this is your blood vessel. It's like round, um, and in so your blood vessel actually inside of it, in the middle, there's what we call an invisible tablecloth, meaning it's a lining, it's a plastic cover for your book. So this is what we call the protection or first line of defense. And this is very thin. It's even described as micro thin gel-like lining of the blood vessels. And it covers like trillions of cells. So every pathway of blood vessel in your system is covered with this plastic lining inside the blood vessel. And this actually is responsible for so many things, such as number one, protecting the inside of that blood vessel. That's why it's a plastic, it's almost like a plastic gel-like cover. And it also eliminates waste. It also is responsible of transports of nutrients, and it facilitates the flow of blood through those blood vessels. And again, it's made out of a sugar coating. So I'm not talking about you munching on sugar to add more to this. It's a natural sugar that is not comparable to the sugar that we eat. And it's very microscopic, and it provides a non-adherent surface. So everything just slides off so that blood flow can be free and easy. And only not is it only available in the blood vessel, but it also is available in your gut lining.
Huh. Wow, sounds interesting. So what is the functions of the EG?
Well, EG is actually a sieve. It's almost like those fish nets that you have and you see when you catch fish. It's making sure that unwanted material should stay away from the inside of your blood vessels. It's like if you're not supposed to be here, get out of here. It's like a filter. And the ones that I'm pertaining to, for example, are bad cholesterols that should not be clogging up the blood vessel to form clots and disturbances in the blood flow, and also infection. So another one that we use for we give this an emphasis on for COVID patients. So you hear about the cytokine storm, right? And what happens here, it destroys the inside of that blood vessel, including EG, and it actually is using that to form those clots that COVID is known for. And another foreign material you don't want to be sticking in your blood vessel is the white blood cells, meaning it has enzymes that can destroy the blood vessel faster. And again, when I mentioned about the micro thin protector, how much of an equivalent it is, it's one sheet of paper actually equals 1,000 layers of. That's how complicated this is. One sheet, that's 1,000 layers of that. And when I mentioned about non-adhesive, anti-adhesive, it's almost like a frying pan, the non-stick version, where when you cook, you don't want anything to be sticking on the surface of your blood vessels. And so thus it prevents clots, obstructions that can form in the blood vessels that would lead to high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks. And thus, also when I mentioned to you about facilitating blood flow through the lumen, it regulates blood pressure. It also lowers the inflammation. It's also preventing clots. And it's also a sensor. When your blood pressure is high going through that blood vessel, it actually releases more nitric oxide so that it can increase the caliber or the diameter of that blood vessel so that it wouldn't create any damage at all. And when you talk about nitric oxide, I think we had a topic in the past with this, it makes the blood vessels bigger and not tighter. And again, how can you damage the EG? Of course, when you have complications or illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, fat or cholesterol issues, and also when you have too many platelets or possible agents to block the lumen, thus scraping the surface of your EG.
Okay, so that tells me what can damage the EG. So is there a way to repair the EG if it's damaged?
There is. So the thing here is when you replace that sugar coating of the EG, that actually is, so this is the original, right? So this is the natural way. But how do we replace that? We're going to replace that with something outside of the body, which is natural. So the one that we use for that, it's called remnant sulfate. It's actually a marine-based replacement, and it's algae. Actually, it's from algae, and the studies have been seen that it can be used as an IV, or in our practice, we use it commonly more as an oral replacement. And the thing here is studies had shown that, you know, these plaques on your necks, the necks of people, 40 to 60% has been seen to decrease the blockage of that just by using this alone. And when you combine it in our practice, when we combine it with our IV protocols, cardiac protocols to be more specific, like the PlaqueX, the one that removes plaques, chelation therapy, and oxidative therapy such as ozone and peroxide, this yields a higher result for your cardiovascular system.
Okay, so who should take this? Ramnan is who's the candidate? Who should take it?
I'm giving you a tongue twister here, Steve, but it's called remnant sulfate. That's the name of the algae that you take in so that it can be repaired and put that that film back in again. So good question. So who needs this? All men and women, regardless of diagnoses, especially with the familial risk of cardiovascular diseases, strokes, and heart attacks. Anybody who has high blood pressure, anybody who has been diagnosed with high cholesterol, anybody who has been diagnosed with diabetes, especially diabetes with complications such as gangrene, kidney problems, even neuropathy. And for the men, they would like this, erectile dysfunction. It actually helps bring the blood flow back to different areas again. And also any type of circulatory issue can be included in this conversation. And even men and women aged 45 for prevention. I mean, when I say prevention, just maintenance, like a vitamin. And I myself, I have to be honest, I'm taking this. Even at my age, I just definitely like the benefits of such. And when I mentioned to you about gut repair, anybody who has a gut issue, IBS, Crohn's, or even just maintaining your microbiome, because the gut has a lot of lining of EG. And now, as I mentioned to you a while ago, COVID. So I'm not recommending this as a prescription for people who has COVID, but as the fact of the matter is, you know, COVID likes to attack the blood vessels and form clots. And when you repair that, and when you prevent COVID from doing that damage, thus less complications for these patients. It's, again, I'll have to put the disclaimer, it's not a treatment for it, but it's a supportive measure that you can use when you have the cytokine storm of COVID.
Wow, very interesting lesson on the cardiovascular system. So, well, we thank you for the information, Dr. Nario, Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. Check him out online.
Well, thank you again, Steve. As we all know, knowledge is power, and thank you for letting me provide you with the edge in longevity and health maintenance, which I call the biological edge or BioEdge.